Hello, you're listening to the Hypotheticals Podcast, Season 3. I'm Andy.
I'm Adriano, and this episode is brought to you by the Union of Machete Men and Allied Trades, trimming hedges and heads with equal vigour since 1992.
Adriano, I have been wondering about animals, because I like animals, and the ones that we see day to day are mostly the ones which we've domesticated, because we've decimated our ecosystems, but aren't they cute?
Let's not focus on that.
So I was wondering, what if we had domesticated different animals? You know, I'm tired of seeing dogs and cats and cows about the place. I want some new, more exotic animals to be our day-to-day friends / food items.
This one, I resent you a little bit, Andy, because I had to do some research for this segment.
Oh, God, imagine.
I know. I've been forced into a realm of actual legitimate information, and I discovered that we've only domesticated 14 large animals. Apparently, not so concerned with small animals like guinea pigs and birds because they can't provide transport. There's no military uses. They're not load-bearing. So that's what we've traditionally gone for, and hence your sheep, your goats, your cows, your pigs, your horses, your Arabian camels, your Bactrian camels, your llama, your alpaca, your donkey, your reindeer, your water buffalo, your yak, your barley cattle, and mithan, brackets, Gale domesticated gaur. I don't know what those last ones are.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, that mainstay of farming.
Yeah, I've never heard of that last one. I want to look that up now.
Right, I'm really curious. But yeah, all kind of variants on a sort of a cowish creature or a sheepish, piggish, you know what I mean? They've all kind of, you've got these largish quadrupeds and they either have a good amount of meat or a good amount of fur or fluff or both, and they carry stuff. Yeah, milk is also good. They'll pull things for you, you can ride them. That's what the people crave.
So yeah, I guess we're looking for other things which could fulfill some of those roles. Mm-hmm. And I'd just like to start off by talking about dogs. I don't know, were they in your list? Sorry, I don't know.
You know what's fun is no, they're not.
Right, okay.
And I don't know why. So disregard whatever source I got that nonsense from. I think it was National Geographic or whatever. Only 14 animals. Maybe it's, only 14 large animals. I don't know why they're not counting dogs as having a limited military use that don't provide transportation and load carrying. Okay, there's others. There's others as well. There's dogs. They'll help you with hunting. Why not? Tame wolves. What a great idea.
To immediately disprove Adriana's argument, I'm going with dogs. So I'm thinking wolves and dogs are useful because they form packs. So they're used to kind of hierarchy and sort of working with others. And we've kind of co-opted that. We've stolen that from them working with other wolves, and we've turned it to focus on us instead. Mm-hmm. So we'll steal away a little dog from its mum, and this is, in our society it's fine. I don't know whether there's a problem with it or not, but anyway, we become its parent instead, and it's cool, I'll follow you and do whatever you want, is the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to take this pack idea to a really extreme level, what could be better than ants? So, because they have a hive mind.
Yeah, what a great notion.
It's not like a pack of 10 wolves, it's a pack of thousands and thousands, if not millions of ants. So if you can convince the ants that you are their queen, then they will do whatever you want. You could so obviously with a big thing with domesticating animals is selective breeding. So you get a trait that you want and you breed the animal. So this is a particularly friendly wolf. So let's breed it with another particularly friendly wolf, and then the offspring, the idea is that it will also be friendlier towards you. And you do this over generations, and they get friendlier and more fluffy and whatever. But you do this with ants, you could breed them so that the queen pheromones resemble a human fragrance, like human scent or sweat. And so they can very easily, you just remove the queen and you put yourself in.
And they just obey, yeah.
Yeah, so you have your entire house is a giant ant colony, and they're cleaning your dishes. I don't know what they'd be doing, but all the little crumbs that get down the back of your sofa, they're collecting them, and they're taking them to grow little fungus somewhere, and then they eat the fungus. And
provided,
or you just you identify the pheromone from the queen and you just mass produce it and spray it all over yourself like a deodorant, like Lynx for ants.
Yeah, you got to remember to, because otherwise they will take you apart and eat you in your sleep. You got to make sure you maintain that position in the hierarchy. That you've got to smell right.
Yeah, and it does get a little dodgy when all the drones start to try and come and mate with you and crawling all over you. It's not particularly pleasant.
But it's
but up
flattering,
until that point, it works pretty well.
Yeah. And maybe that's something we can figure out with breeding and stuff. I don't know, because like these species get changed incredibly by selective breeding. Like when humans started off with chickens, I think they were like 8 times lighter than they are these days, and they laid like only a handful of eggs a year instead of like upwards of 200. So. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Have you ever seen the pictures of... I mean, you did a biology degree. Maybe this was, absolutely obvious to you. But I don't think I found out until my early 20s that fruit and veg looked radically different before we started selectively breeding it. Like, people are all strawberries and bananas and stuff, all natural food. And it's like, nope. Have you seen, like, a wild strawberry?
Yeah, they're so tiny
Nothing
and, like,
there.
spiky.
Yeah, nobody cares. It's not designed well. Like, the standards of animals, it turns out, are really low. They're like, yeah, I guess I'll eat this. It's made of thorns, whatever. You need those nutrients somehow. And humans were like, nah, I'm not putting up with that. More fruit.
Yeah, so you do the same with ants.
Yeah, get big ones.
More ants to eat.
You can eat ants, though. You can eat honey ants, at least. Like, there's some species.
We're trying to replace the... You want, like, your cute little ants. You don't want to be eating your little ant friends unless you've combined, like, a dog roll with the roll of, prawns. And you're just like, I'm going to eat my friends as well. I've got millions more of them.
I mean, honestly, like, that's... As a species, we've kind of been a bit... about like which things we made friends with and which things we ate, like there's countries where people eat dogs.
Yeah. And like horses as well. It's like, why, like, like logically speaking, why don't we eat horses?
Right.
They're like really muscly. There's a lot of protein in them. They're basically the same size as a cow. You can get a lot off them. And like at the end of their life, what else are you going to do with them apart from like turn them into glue? But there's like, no, we don't eat horses.
Right. Let's consider the madness of an English fox hunt. Right. Oh, my favorite thing in the world. Where they all pile on these horses and chase these dogs and try and massacre this poor fox. And if a horse should happen to like trip over a log or whatever because you're just riding it hard through the woods and breaks its ankle or something, like, oh no, you've got to shoot it. How sad, right? But I mean, then they just leave it or like get their servants to come and like collect it and sell it to the glue factory? What could be like a better ending to, because the hunt, right? Surely at the end of a mammoth hunt or whatever, you'd have like a big celebratory cookout, like the whole tribe eats well now. And now a fox hunt, you kidding? Like, you're not eating that. You give it to the dogs. Like, who cares? Where's the benefit? But you bring a horse back, roast that on a spit,
Another successful hunt. We've successfully accidentally killed a horse again.
I'm just saying, if you're going to go through all this faff to kill animals, you may as well eat them after. I don't know. I just feel awful about the whole thing. I'm just saying, the line about not eating horses in this country, because don't the French eat horses or something? And yet over here there was a big scandal because, oh no, it turns out some of our alleged cow meat is actually horse meat and we can't have that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the French, but yeah, certainly there was a big scandal where I think it was some of Tesco's meat. I may have got that wrong. Don't sue me. But was contaminated with horse meat or something, and people lost their minds. And I was like, why? Why do you care so much?
It's important for food to be like what they tell you it is, I will grant you. But it's not like it was, poison. Anyway.
Anyways, I'm just going to finish off on ants before we move on, though. So, another thing about ants is that some of them have domesticated aphids. Do you know about this?
Oh, and they milk them, right?
Yeah, they milk them for honeydew, which is like a very syrupy. It's like the waste product of aphids. They don't want it. They like excrete sugar water essentially.
Amazing.
So the ants like farm them, protect them from other predators, and like just drink the sugar water directly from the aphid. Bit weird. But anyway,
right from the
I guess
tap.
no weirder than like drinking milk from a cow.
But at least like we put a sufficient distance there that like you can forget about the cow if you want to. This is the equivalent of like crawling under a cow and just applying your mouth directly to the udder.
Yeah, so but with this, they've domesticated aphids already. So not only can you domesticate ants, you can have 2 layers of domestication. You can domesticate your ants, and then they've got aphids helping you as well. So you can get like a huge source of sugary drinks. I don't know, like a healthier alternative to fructose corn syrup, and as well as that, they'll clean your house for you, and maybe you could get your ants to farm for you as well.
Well, they'll build your house. Like, if you're happy living in a big, pyramid, like a cone, then...
Yeah, built of, like, mulched wood, yeah.
Yeah, they'll build cities. They've already got the instincts for it. They understand. You make bigger ants, maybe, and they could really get things done.
Yeah, so, yeah, you don't have any more need for, like, heavy machinery or like in farming with pesticides, because you just have colonies of ants, so they like roam through your crops and kill any other insect that they find.
Yeah, because you'd make them bigger, stronger, and they just the poor wild instincts wouldn't be able to hold a candle to them. This is fantastic. I think you've completely blown this case wide open for me, because I got to thinking like, okay, there's my favorite two directions for what if we domesticated different animals are either real big, it's all just elephants and hippos, or real small. But I was thinking small in terms of like a herd of guinea pigs, and that's where you're trying to get your meat from, and like we're all enfeebled because all we're eating is guinea pig chops and like quail's eggs or like tiny little birds' eggs and things. It's much worse, frankly. But insects, what an incredible untapped resource. I love it, because then you can feed other insects off of this farmed sugar water from the aphids.
And like you can get your ants to harvest your crops for you as well, because like you already have leafcutter ants in parts of the rainforest where they like will cut up bits of leaves and like take them back.
Yes,
and that's what they feed the fungus. Just do that with like individual like grains of wheat.
Yeah, you don't need a combine harvester.
You don't have massive intensive agriculture. You've just got this incredibly pinpoint specific harvesting.
I love that vision, just a field swarming, and normally that's like off of a nature documentary where it's like, oh, check out this like freak locust swarm that destroyed the harvest. But this time it's like, no, the insects are our friends. This is a bug's life, essentially. What we're talking about is a bug's life. Yeah, I was just thinking,
right? It's bug's life.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like the locusts come in and they attack all your ants, and your ants have to like fight them off and like, or like give them a portion of your farmed wheat, and you're like, what happened, guys? And they're like,
you have to build a bird out of like sticks and leaves in order to... I mean, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen A Bug's Life, I'm sorry.
It's only 20 years old.
Yeah, but brilliant. In this scenario, we could be the locusts, actually. We could be the bullies that make them work and then steal all their food.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, the natural role of humanity.
So, can I carry on my other ways to replace dogs?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So dolphins going in a different direction here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so they're kind of the wolves of the sea.
Very much so.
I'd say.
I agree.
Yeah. So they hunt in packs. They're intelligent. They've got advanced social structures. So they're like wolves, kind of. But it might be a bit inconvenient because obviously, well, I thought a dog fin is what you call them. A dog fin is for life, not just for summer. So. You'd have to like live next to the sea.
Ah, yes.
And like take your dog fin for lots of swims all the time. Picking up their poo would be difficult because it just floats away.
I think you could probably allow that because I mean, most of the issues like no fouling laws tend to be because otherwise parks would just be like awash with the stuff, and we let our kids play there, and we want to walk on the path and stuff. But like in the ocean, it's a free for all. But
maybe in this scenario you've got like. Dog fins living in cities, and instead of like dog walking parks, you've got dog fin swimming pools, and so you do have to pick up their excrement because otherwise it's just afloat with loads of this like horrible seawater and all this poo floating everywhere.
It's no good. The filtration system isn't going to keep up. Like they're relying on you to do your bit. Otherwise, all these little canals and everything, all these like lakes and ponds.
Yeah, but obviously there's lots of ethical problems with keeping dolphins in captivity. So you might just like have to live next to the sea and just leave them there overnight and then hope that they come back.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate and advocate horrifying eugenics, which is kind of what we did with dogs, you just have to breed them to like it. You have to breed them to be big fans of just doing whatever you want to do, human. Yes! Because wolves don't exactly like being penned in. And I mean, I looked up not only what species have we domesticated, poor job of research, and here we go with more half facts that I've half absorbed. But apparently, you've got to, basically, to be a good candidate for domestication, you've got to be an omnivore or a herbivore, exception, dogs. So, it's already messed up.
I know, dogs are omnivores.
Are they?
Yeah. I think technically you can feed a dog an entirely vegetarian diet. It's just it's a lot more difficult for them to get all the nutrients they need.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So again, research complete garbage, but allegedly rapid growth is beneficial, so elephants are considered too slow for this. I mean, but they still use them as beasts of burdens, like out east, so I don't know. They've got to breed well in captivity, so for example, cheetahs need too much space. And they've got to have a suitable disposition. So apparently zebras are too angry, grizzly bears, hippos, etc. African buffalo also cannot be tamed. And has to accept penning. Apparently you can't do deers, gazelles, antelope, because they panic when they're penned.
Right.
And then lastly, there's having a developed social structure and a hierarchy so they can accept a subordinate role and being herded. Cats, for example, not great at being herded, proverbially so. But I reckon a lot of these are just people not putting the effort in. Like, wolves don't want to be penned or whatever, but like, the gazelles panic, pen them harder, over generations. Eventually you'll breed ones that like it. You've just got to...
the spirit.
Yeah, that's what literally... When you catch a Mustang or whatever out in the American West, then you have to break its spirit. Yes, you have to break the spirit of the vehicle so that it will let you inside so you can buckle its seatbelt. It's the only way. I'm just saying the process of domestication is ugly and cruel.
Yeah.
And I find it odd that, we didn't apply it just across the board.
Okay, I've got one more dog thing.
Please.
Spiders.
Okay.
So this is kind of looking at dogs as being used for hunting, because quite often dogs were bred specifically for like retrieving birds or like going down rabbit holes to get to get the rabbits out.
Yes.
So you've got a creature which can be taught to weave. Oh, so first, well, actually, this is a tangent. First of all, you can teach it to weave patterns, so it could make materials for you, or it can make traps to catch birds. So you could selectively breed spiders to catch different animals. So over centuries, you could breed a really giant spider to help catch ducks or grouse or pheasants, maybe even bears.
If you're lucky. Don't you already get there's a species of tarantula that's such a weird word, that preys on small birds, right?
Yeah, bird-eating spiders, I think, is they're often called. And they are, they're like the size of dinner plates almost.
Insane.
So, it's only a hop, skip and a jump from breeding like one the size of a small dog. And just making it weave a really thick web that you can, why shoot ducks that are flying through the sky when you can shoot ducks that are trapped in webs?
I mean, frankly, yeah. Like, it struck me that there's a certain amount of, like, hunters back in the day, like tribal, dudes with spears, a lot of skill to it, I'm sure. By the time it made it into something that, like, the British aristocracy was doing for fun, I question a lot of the heroism and the ability that's required, right? Like, fox hunting, you just gotta stay on your horse, my dude. Like, the dogs are gonna do everything else. So, yeah, shooting birds trapped in spiders' webs sounds about their speed.
Yeah. The only downside of spiders is they're not the best pack animals. I don't think they don't really care about other spiders. They're quite happy by themselves.
But at least they're not gonna attack each other. You could farm them in a certain concentration without having any problems. You probably do the same with crabs.
I have a feeling some spiders might eat other spiders.
Sure, but you pick your species. I mean, there's tons of spiders, right?
True. That's very true.
I feel like crabs might be I feel like spiders and crabs might work well together. They got that exoskeleton. They're very stable. And I've just got a picture in my head of all those little red crabs scuttling across, where is it? Like Easter Island or somewhere? That mass migration.
Oh, yeah. I don't know where it is, actually.
I can't remember either, but, those guys have got some, they'll move. They will hustle. Get bigger ones, strap some packs to their backs or whatever. They'll carry your stuff across the desert, whatever you need.
The only downside is that, because obviously they grow throughout their life and shed their skins, their shells.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have to keep buying new little onesies for them.
Oh, that is the worst thing I can imagine. You're right.
They're constantly getting too small. And you're like, damn it, not again. Unless you breed your crab to, instead of a shell, it's like a hermit crab. It just goes inside the onesie.
Oh, I see. Honestly, I think there might be that probably is what would happen early on, and archaeologists would be finding all these ancient ceramic crab shells and things people had made. with like ridges and things on so that you could easily strap stuff to them, like little seats maybe for a big enough crab that you could ride. But then eventually, because that's going to be expensive, right? Having to manufacture new shells until eventually you get like production line, like factories and so on. Then you flip the other way. But in the intermediate period, like the Middle Ages, when there's fewer slaves to do all the labor for you, isn't it the fact that like the agrarian economy of Europe was like absolutely revolutionized in, I don't know, the 12th century or sometime by the invention of the horse collar?
Oh, yeah. That was like the equivalent of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, and I forget why. It was like, I think it was necessary so that they could pull plows and things.
Yeah.
Right? Like it distributes the weight across the horse's shoulders. So I guess like previously probably people had to do a lot of their like whatever it was that they were subsequently able to just get horses to pull the machine.
Yeah, or maybe like they had to use oxen who maybe aren't quite as suited for it. I don't know.
There we go. Yeah, it was probably something like that. It's impossible to know. No one could ever find out, but it's something like that. And I imagine that you'd have a similar revolution when someone invented the adjustable crab harness. You just gotta let them do their own shell shedding business, and you just have a thing with like, just a bunch of leather belts and different holes.
Oh, amazing.
Solid. Well, I'm ready for this like small animal utopia. Honestly, I was way leaning the other direction. I thought it would be much more fun if everything was huge. I was picturing what would it be like over here in England, say, so shaped as it was by the horse. Like, picture the streets of London, originally developed for like traffic to get along when it was like one horse or two horses pulling like a carriage. But what if it was elephants and hippos from hell to breakfast?
Right.
Just much wider streets, everything just scaled up, like a couple of elephants could pull like an omnibus. It wouldn't just be like, you might have a more egalitarian society. Maybe you'd communally own these larger creatures that would then service like an entire family or neighborhood, rather than
right.
like
and the wider streets would reduce fire hazards. It would make hygiene better.
Less pollution spread out over a larger area.
Yeah, but just really massive. Walking down the street, you wouldn't want to step in an elephant poo.
You would not. But luckily, you're riding around on an elephant's back, or you're up in a big, because the elephant omnibus, the Elabus or whatever, would be affordable to the masses instead of, the like high prices charged for hansom cab rides with the horses. So I think it might work out. Plus, think how hale and hearty everyone would be on a diet of like ostrich eggs and like hippo, chops or whatever.
So are you imagining just the fact that these things are really big would make everyone really big? Like, really like muscular and tall?
Yes, because look, the egg is kind of its own portion control. You know what I mean? You never put a portion of an egg in a recipe. You always measure in terms of number of eggs. So the minimum number of eggs is 1. You can have 1 boiled egg for breakfast and some toast soldiers or whatever. And, 1 chicken egg, that's, I don't know, like 100, like 80 calories or something. It's not that much. Size of toast, whatever. Ostrich egg, that's going to fuel you. That's a lot of protein.
Yeah, but surely you lose the advantage of having a nice, affordable, small egg. You're just like, we've got nothing that we can just like buy very cheaply. We have to buy an ostrich egg and like feed our entire family with it. I don't know.
Well, I don't like that. I'm assuming and hoping that the proper farming of ostriches would have resulted in, because like the original chickens...
Are you saying you'd get a small ostrich? It's the same as a chicken.
No.
It just looks a bit like an ostrich.
Not at all. I'm just saying they're more efficient because your original chickens only, as we mentioned, only popped out like a half dozen eggs a year, and now they're up to hundreds, So you start off and an ostrich is maybe only laying 1 egg every however, like I don't know what the economics of ostrich farming is, but I'm sure that if you bred them properly and figured it out, you could make them much more efficient. Like how many eggs can an ostrich lay in a day, say?
In a day? Oh, 20. Easy.
I mean, with proper breeding, maybe.
You'd have to be, like, shoveling calcium into its mouth. Like, it would just have a diet of pure calcium and protein. It would be ridiculous.
Or whatever it takes. I don't know. I'm not a farmer, but people are, and they can figure it out. That's all I'm saying.
Welcome to my, my ostrich farm in this abandoned chalk mine. They're just eating, gouging out pieces of rock to try and keep up with this pace.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what they need, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, talking of replacing chickens, though, this is my next one I'm going to talk about. Because I was thinking, what other animals lay eggs?
Ostriches.
Ostriches, apart from ostriches. Okay. And the answer is snakes.
Oh, strong.
So, you take a nice, relatively harmless grass snake, no venom or anything, and you selectively breed it for generations. So you get a nice, massive, meaty steak. If you think about it, like a snake, there's no fat on it. It's all muscle.
That's true.
So like you'll get a lot of good portions of meat off that if you want to use it for meat. But also, if you want eggs, you head on down to your snake coop every morning. And you get yourself some delicious leathery eggs. Because you know the snake eggs and like reptile eggs, they're not hard. So they're like leather and soft.
Yeah.
So you've got your lovely leathery eggs, which is a great texture. You've got less risk of fox attacks because
he's going to attack your snakes.
Exactly. You know, you might want to try and attract foxes to your coop for your snakes to eat.
Yes, they'll slot right into the existing ecosystem. They'll do great. They'll thrive where chickens have been preyed upon.
Yeah, and you know, you might be unfortunate, like you try loads of different species of snake and the only one that's successful is actually bred from egg-eating snakes. So you need to have chickens anyway to feed their eggs to your egg-eating snakes. But I think it would work.
A nice value add to the existing chicken economy then. And let's talk about the convenience of a snake for meat purposes, right? Because you've got a nice thick meaty snake. You just slice that guy, ready-made burgers, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to faff about like grinding it and then making a patty out. No, just chop, you're done.
Yeah, you like have a sort of ring of meat and you're like, there we go.
Yeah, boom, done. And also, now the leathery eggs, do you know if on the inside they're similar to a chicken's egg? Like, do they have the albumin and then like the yolk? Like, if you boil one, are you going to get a similar deal? Because they might be easier to peel is what I'm saying.
I think they must have a yolk because that's where I don't know. It's where my biology knowledge lags, but I think they do have a yolk because that's how that's how the the fetus survives for so long. But obviously, you'd have to breed them like we have with chickens to be able to breed, produce eggs without being fertilized.
Sure, and I mean, big work. We did that with chickens. I'm sure it can be done across the board. You get seedless grapes. It's fine. People will figure it out. It's genes, whatever. I'm really sold on the convenience now, and I'm wondering whether you could pack more snakes into the same. How much do snakes desire free roaming? You know what I mean? Because battery farming is terribly cruel.
Yeah, they're pretty happy. Like reptiles won't move for a long period of the time.
Right, stick them under a heat lamp. They're just good to go. Just put them in a greenhouse.
Because like snakes are designed to stay very still. And just wait for prey to pass, and the prey thinks they're like a branch or something, and then they eat them. So like they're used to not moving.
Right, they're not foragers, which chickens want to like walk around and peck and stuff. So this is all, I'm sure, absolute horrible. Whatever the opposite of music to the ears is to like people who own snakes and actually know these things. But yeah, I've got a notion that maybe you could just pack a greenhouse with snakes. It'd be much more efficient.
And also, they might make good cats as well. So let's move away from chickens in terms of snakes. Okay. But they're like, if you try and think of the reptile equivalent of a cat, surely it's a snake. Like, they're not interested in you. They'll just like climb up on things and slither around. True. Not that cats slither, but you know what I mean. They'll eat birds.
Yeah, they'll climb you. Good point. And, you hear stories of, like, the old lady who died in a house and then her cats ate her, and you hear stories about the person who's, like, snake was, like, lying next to them in bed, and it turns out it was, like, measuring their height with its body to see if it could eat them. All of these stories are entirely true, I'm convinced. So, yeah, there's a lot of parallels, actually. Snakes are the cats of the jungle? Where do, Yeah, that sounds about right.
No cats live in the jungle.
Absolutely none.
Okay, but to briefly go back to replacing chickens, The other option, in terms of you want eggs, reptiles produce eggs, but also amphibians produce eggs, so frogs. So, okay, you wouldn't get a nice boiled egg, but you could get an absolute ton of frog spawn.
Yeah.
And you could probably make scrambled egg out of that.
Yeah, or like a caviar-like substance, presumably.
Yeah. So, like, you'd need very moist barns to keep them in, or maybe just, like, giant fenced pools.
Yeah.
But, like, frog's legs are already supposed to taste like chicken.
Is that the attraction?
And just imagine, like, imagine, if you will, if you were a carnivore, not a vegetarian.
Yes.
But imagine picking up a nice giant frog from the supermarket and you pop it into the oven to roast. Because like the way that we've bred things is to make like massive joints of meat, right? So like the legs would be absolutely huge.
Haunches.
Yeah, so that might also make them quite terrifying though, because like every time they jump, they go like 10 feet.
Oh, that's a problem actually. So what you really want to do is breed them somehow to encourage their fat production, rather than they be a really fatty meat. God, I don't know what you do with these frogs. They're going to be really hard to control.
Yeah, I guess you just keep them in barns or something. You can't really have free range ones because they just hop all the fences.
It adds a new level of skill to farming though, because like sheep, let's face it. I gather the problem with sheep can be like keeping them alive because they're quite dumb. But they'll stay put, like they're not interested in trying to escape. I think my impression is,
Yeah, they're pretty happy where they are.
Yeah, frogs, that's hard mode.
Sorry, I'm just now imagining trying to, you've got sheepdogs. I'm now imagining sheep ants trying to control where your sheep go.
Oh god, that would be quite tough actually. Now I'm picturing how would it work, because have you seen the video of a trail of ants, like, doing one of their food runs, and another trail of termites doing the same, and there is a line of immobile ant soldiers and a line of termite soldiers just between the two, like, kind of like a barrier between, like, two lanes on a motorway, just standing there, not doing anything, just ready, just protecting, just like, no trouble here, like a riot line of police or what have you.
Oh, wow. No, I hadn't seen that. That sounds cool.
It's very cool. So I'm thinking that it would be kind of creative penning on the ants' part. Because either they form up into a ball and just roll around, kind of like a dog runs around, and figure out a way of making some noise to freak them out and get those sheep going in the right direction. Or it's a case of building like big ant barriers where they don't want them to go.
Right. Or, yeah, I like the ant barrier thing, but you could also combine that with some ants, I think most ants, spray acid when they're attacked, formic acid.
Wow.
So if you could get your ants to spray acid at your sheep, they'd like run away.
Yeah, that might, I don't know, that might have side effects, I feel. Like on the wool, if nothing else.
Yeah, and your fields would just get like completely acidic soil and everything would die.
Oh, yeah.
Because of all the ant spittle.
Okay, yeah. So maybe that's one mark in the cons column for ants. Otherwise, perfect. Okay, well look, thinking small, I also like the idea of like moles, mice, voles, just a lot of little critters. Maybe in some kind of like mole man, like underground tunneling society kind of situation. I mainly like the aesthetic because, frankly, I can only really think of downsides. Like the amount of them you would need to eat, the amount of like moles you would have to skin to get like enough fur to do whatever. You'd have barely any leather, all our clothes.
Well,
very skimpy.
Wasn't there mole hair? That was a thing, right?
Yeah, and I've heard of it, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? If you're gonna skin an animal for its fur, surely go for a bigger one. Like moles, really? What? Why?
Yeah, you like hundreds of the things.
Yeah,
in one coat or something.
And is it better? Like what's like? Why not mice? Why not shrews and stoats?
I don't know. So what are the downsides that you can think of?
Well, just the fact that they're so small. So you have to eat like from one pig you can carve up many bacons. But it takes many mouse to feed you the equivalent of one bacon.
Mini mouse.
Mini mouse. Unless you can breed them real big. Yeah. So the good news is mice breed really easily. And they're happy in an enclosed environment and they'll eat pretty much whatever. In fact, you have to work hard to get rid of mice. So, like, having mice, easy. might actually be more efficient than I think. You know, a kind of like sometimes it's more efficient to scale the individual product up, and sometimes it's more efficient to scale up the production of the product and just have more of a smaller thing. So it might work out. As a food stuff, I can see it working more. I do feel like skinning them and tanning their hides would be much more labour intensive. I feel awful just talking about it. Probably all nice.
Also milking. You wouldn't get much, would you?
Gosh, you wouldn't. But I guess these are all mammals. They've all got milk. Like, yeah. It would be a rare commodity.
Oh God! You know, last week we talked about the got milk adverts from the dairy industry in the US.
We did.
Just imagining got milk, and there's just like a horde of rats in the background hooked up to these machines.
Ominous.
Yeah,
I don't know. We've gotten used to cows. Like, there's nothing inherently appealing about a cow, probably. We're just used to them. But having gotten used to them, it's weird to think of, like, stoats or whatever. Like, there's pet rats in my house, but the idea of milking them still strikes me as kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the logical thing would not be to minimise it. I know that's your entire point. But, like, if you're looking for a rodent to domesticate, surely you could go worse than, like, a capybara.
Oh, yeah.
Which are, like... They're like the world's biggest rodents. They're kind of the size of I don't know, like a dog maybe.
There we go.
Like a terrier or no, like a collie or something. But like, you know, you could get a fair amount off one of them.
You know, maybe the smart thing to do is to just like, we've diversified too much. It's confusing. For they're an entirely capybara-based economy. You get a half dozen of them, they'll pull your sledge. You eat them, they're your pets, you know, you milk them, you shave them.
Oh God!
Nice and easy.
Yeah, just one size fits all, one species for all.
Yeah, or at the very least, I guess what we've really done is we've specialised on mammals specifically, and now we've talked about the many, you know, surprising virtues of the insect, the arachnid, the crustacean, the reptile, and the bird a little bit. I mean, you could go all bird.
Just riding ostriches around.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's already a good start. I'm sure they could pull carts and stuff as well. And also, I mean, with enough strong birds, like, you can just James and the Giant Peach it. Like, tie them all to your hot air balloon or whatever. Get carrier pigeons carrying your packages. It's in the name, you know?
Yeah. What could you replace carrier pigeons with?
What, in a... Well, the other option I thought of was either all birds, or I think we're running out of like Kingdom Animalia at this point. But you could go all fish, and we've talked about the dolphin, and we did. I don't want to
all fish. In our land-based society.
Well, yeah, because I don't want to retread. We've already talked about what if we developed underwater instead. So we talked a bit about domesticating fish there. Forget that. In our land-based society, basically, I think places like Venice and like island nations probably absolutely get their money's worth here. Everywhere else, a lot of canals and things. Like just Amsterdam, everywhere. Probably you do a lot of flooding of your own land.
So like literally the opposite of what we did in history, like where we like drained all the marshes, get rid of all this water, don't want that, let's get rid of all these special ecosystems, dry everything out, jobs are good.
Yeah, no, forget that, because I mean, this is a true alternate history scenario. What if we had instead domesticated the fish? Because let's face it, it's probably just racism on our part that made us fixate on land mammals. Because what are we? Oh, we're land mammals. Coincidence? I think not. If we just stuck our heads underwater and understood that we are all, you know, brothers and sisters underneath, then we might have discovered, you know, that the humble fish can pretty much do all that stuff anyway.
It's like when in Harry Potter, when he's in the Goblet of Fire, when he's got that egg, and when he opens it up and it's just like sounds like screaming, but he has to open it underwater, and then he can understand the message of the mer people.
Exactly.
If only we'd stuck our heads underwater, we could have heard the fish saying, "Domesticate us.
We're so
we want to be your friends.
We need to be useful. Give us purpose." Yeah. And, you know, from there, it's a hop, skip, and a jump. I mean, some, like, electric eels domesticated for the purpose of power generation is, like, the absolute dream, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that would be cool.
Wouldn't it? Zap, zap.
Yeah, a whole new use for domesticated animals.
Yeah, and I almost wonder, like, if you keep them as pets, then now you can generate your own power. Because, like, maybe I don't know, do they do it when they're threatened? It's probably only when they're threatened.
I think, and when they're hunting.
Okay, well, I mean, cats play with their hunting behaviours. So you play with your cat, it's doing what it would do when it's, and its adrenal glands are pumping and its heart's racing and all this stuff that is like not efficient for the organism. It's not fostering its modern day survival because it doesn't need to hunt for its food, but it feels good to the cat. And no harm, no foul. It's built to do this, so it's fine. So you don't want to just like whip electric eels into making electricity for you. That's terrible. But maybe you play with them by getting them to hunt a fish on a rod, if you will. And in so doing, they're just electrocuting the absolute hell out of like the dynamo belt that you've strapped to it.
Right, and you could automate it so it just like constantly is like pulling this thing up and down and around the little aquarium so that they're always chasing after it.
I mean, you'd have like those automatic cat toys that the cats almost invariably immediately get bored of. You'd have this whole industry. Which, is it just me or is it flourishing? Like, I feel like I'm hearing more and more about like special forage feeder thingamybobs and automatic like food and water dispensers and like automatic wiggly things for cats. Is it just me? Maybe it's just me hearing more about them. I don't know.
I don't keep I don't follow cat news weekly, so I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I am subscribed. And that reminds me of an old meme. Do you remember cat facts?
No, I don't think so.
It used to be a gag people would pull on people they didn't like was they'd subscribe them to cat facts, and they'd start getting texts like. Did you know that, there are however many species of cat? Like, and then they put puns in there. Like, that's I can't think of one. They put, meow puns and purr. Like, that's right. Perfect and yada yada. And they just keep getting these texts. And it was a way of, like, trolling people. They try and, like, stop them and you just send them cat facts and so on. I think eventually it got, from being a kind of decentralized prank, it turned into, like, I think someone made a real automated service for it. So yeah, I've been subscribed ever since, obviously, and that's why I know about this stuff.
And we're introducing snake facts.
Yes,
because cats are history.
Oh my god, that was slick. Oh my god.
Yeah, slick like a snake, and snakes coming to a home near you to roam free and play with. What would a snake cat play with?
That's a good question. I guess they want to pounce on stuff that runs around like a mouse, and then they pounce.
You'd have to get toys which it would like just completely digest and pop out the other end, and you got to clean it off.
Oh yeah,
because I don't think they'd give them up easily.
It's true because it doesn't. If it just digests it and that's it, then it stops counting as a toy. It's just food now.
Yeah, but you have to get it so that it doesn't digest properly. So it's just like a giant, like one of those really cute toys which cats play with, but it just is, you have this image of it slowly being eaten as the jaw like dislocates and disappears down your snake.
Right. And it's got to be like really acid resistant. It's got to get through the whole stomach and everything, pop out the other end. Like, hey, good enough. Hose it off. That could go.
Yeah, next time round for you. That would not have a good time in Toy Story logic, would it?
Oh, God. That's a whole other segment, and
I've got Toy Story with cat, like, pet toys.
I kind of don't want to go there. That's so horrifying. Toy Story 3 is awful enough. I mean, it's a great movie, but it's, it's good.
Oh, yeah. It sticks with you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's move away from that horrifying topic to replacing sheep. We talked about sheep. So, like, my categories for sheep is that it needs to produce wool, or like a wool-like substance. Yeah. It needs to be really, like, super docile to the point of downright stupidity, and you need to get some sort of meat from it. So, first of all, sticking with mammals, seals. So, like, baby seals are covered in, like, soft, downy fur.
Guess that's true.
So that's obviously led to them being hunted in the past for their pelts. But if you could domesticate a seal, you could probably breed them to keep that fur throughout their adult life.
Right, they just shave it off, and you don't have to kill the poor things. And they're dog-like, right? They're super cute. They've probably got like some kind of bonding instinct you could manipulate.
Yeah, probably. And I just love the image of like maverick sea shepherds driving their flocks along the coast.
Yes.
Perhaps they've got a seal dogfin. One of these domesticated dolphins like rounding them up.
Yeah, absolutely they would. In my mind, they're even riding a manta ray, like for when they need to go out offshore. They're just standing on it, shepherd's crook in one hand, other arm held out for balance, and just skimming along the top of the water.
Oh, like stood on it, like a sort of like a sorcerer on a magic carpet.
Exactly like that.
Yes, I'd love that. But yeah, I'm just imagining the seal shearing, would be quite an event to behold.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
You've got to, like, wrestle a seal.
To be fair, like, the shape is fairly simple. It's mainly an issue that, like, it doesn't have legs, so it's not going to stand up. Huh.
Yeah.
You need a special harness, and then you just have to kind of, like, rotate it within that harness.
Like, you know how in kebab shops,
yes,
they've got the...
That's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, so what you need, because you don't want to just, like, drive a spit through this thing. It's awful.
Gosh.
You want a non-lethal, non-cruel shearing method. So you get... On one end, you got like the two clamps, right? Like one for each end, and one of them is adapted to go in a seal's mouth, and it's just got something that they love to like to eat or to suckle on, you know. But it's going to last a while. It's like a gobstopper, seal gobstopper on one end. Other end, I guess some kind of tail clamp. Like it's got to get them like at the base of that tail in a padded way that's not going to hurt and is going to support their weight. And then you rotate them gently and just. Bzzzt.
I mean, you're being nicer to the seals than we are to sheep, I think.
Really? I don't know how sheep shearing
Not all
works.
sheep. I mean, to be honest, most of the time it seems we just, like, clamp them between two metal gates and, like, go at it.
Fair enough. Well, the thing is, they're already standing up on their own power, so I'm sure it's, like, a bit of an ordeal. But, like, it's not like they're being trussed up.
Yeah, okay, that's true. So, my other idea for replacing sheep is going small again, caterpillars. So,
look at these hairs.
Yeah, you got some caterpillars covered in fur. So quite often this is like, it's very irritating to human skin and causes rashes.
Perfect for the clothes industry. It's such a good textile.
Yeah, but there's bound to be a species which is soft and comforting instead. You just breed that.
Yeah, bound to be.
So you make it really large and you make sure that it like never turns into a cocoon. It never like metamorphoses into a butterfly.
It never
You just keep it in that larval stage.
Okay, now, this is creeping me out a lot more than the talk of giant spiders and ants, honestly. I don't know why. Just
really?
Yeah, picturing like this enormous caterpillar, like big enough to shear, is quite grotesque. Okay, yeah, but I guess super easy to shear because they just stand there. They're not going to get away fast. You don't even have to pen them.
Yeah, instead of a field of like 100 sheep, you've got one massive caterpillar.
Okay, or just a load of load of big ones. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't like that at all, but I couldn't tell you why. Like logically, just seems kind of gross and jiggly. Produces meat as well was a criterion. So you're advocating like dietary caterpillar ingestion.
Yeah, I mean they're already starting on like crickets and grasshoppers.
Yeah.
Like that's been recently approved as food by some EU.
Has it?
You know. Legislation. So yeah, that's now legal to be sold in every European country as food. So why not caterpillars? Big slices of caterpillar.
Yeah.
It'll be juicy and like watery like a watermelon.
Caterpillar steaks. Just real damp. Okay. That's unpleasant. I don't like it. I'm thinking about the nodules and the fuzzy bits and the colour. The colour. It would look like weird alien meat.
Yeah, but they wouldn't, they'd be easy to pen because they can't go very far. Although they can climb up things.
You might have to, you might need to build a... How good are they at squeezing themselves through openings? Like...
I don't know.
I guess it depends how big...
I guess you just have an electric fence, right? They can do that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they're not going to climb that. Poor devils. I hope they can figure out where it is instead of just bumping into it constantly. I don't know how good their eyesight is.
Oh, no. Yeah. Okay, so my last one then. Is replacing horses.
Okay, that's a real mainstay, particularly over here in the West.
Yeah, and to be honest, I couldn't think of many things which aren't mammals or horses to replace
It's kind of
them.
like you've got camels over here, alpacas and yaks over there, whatever, but very horse-like.
Yeah, in terms of like riding on the back of it, like there's not a lot apart from a camel that you can do. But I thought maybe if selective breeding had gone a different way, wild boar could have not been domesticated as pigs for meat, but instead as working animals fulfilling like a similar role to horses.
I like that. Yeah, I want to see pig races instead of horse races, I bet they're sturdier.
They wouldn't be very good at the jumps.
No, they wouldn't. But you wouldn't have to put them down when they fall over, the poor things, so...
Yeah, they'd be fine.
Yeah.
But like, just imagine riding into town in a Western, like, with your rifle slung over your shoulder on a giant tusked boar, like 6 feet high at the shoulder.
Terrifying. Imagine rodeos. They'd be like
right.
combination. Well, to be fair, they do those with bulls already, so they've already got like a horned, tusked creature.
But yeah, just charging into battle on one of them, in the medieval era, you could do some real damage.
I feel like you could pile a decent amount of armor on a hog.
Yeah, because they're pretty strong, right?
I think so, for their size, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
And I'm just imagining now, but you've got your wild boar domesticated as a pig, and you're still going on hunts in the forest, and you're hunting wild horses instead.
Oh yeah, I thought you were going to say you're now hunting wild boar from on top of a bigger wild boar.
Right.
But no, yeah, I like the idea that it's horses. You're after that sweet, sweet succulent horse meat, and you're just riding these pigs. I don't know how fast a boar is, or how fast a boar with a person on it would be. I suspect horses have them beat as far as speed goes.
I imagine they're a bit like dwarves in Lord of the Rings, where they're natural sprinters, rather than the long distances of a horse.
Right. Yeah, but as with dwarves, they're probably sturdier, just iron constitution. That's what I picture. Able to eat whatever.
Yeah, they'd be a lot more convenient than a horse, to be honest, because I don't imagine they'd get tired as easily. You could probably just go quite slowly, but for the whole day. And get where you need to go,
yeah.
And then you don't need to find grass or anything. You just eat whatever.
Yeah,
any old crap.
Here's all the stuff from my lunch that I couldn't eat because it's rinds and husks and bones and stuff. Here you go.
Yeah,
munch. Yeah, and you wouldn't need to change horses when you get to the next way station or what have you. Just nope, got my hog, I'm good to go. Yeah, it's kind of the opposite to elves in fantasy. They're all lanky and fast and nimble and light, and they make what's it called, lembas, elven waybread, I think. Yeah, that so light and tiny and you barely know you're carrying it, and it keeps forever, and 2 bites and you're full and energized for the whole day, and goddamn elves. And I just they're so, it drives me nuts because I think of them as very similar to the aristocracy in a way. They've got this real holier than thou attitude, just we're better, more refined, ha ha ha, elves. And a dwarf on a hog is the polar opposite, and I like that.
That was the Hypotheticals podcast. Adriano, where can people find us online?
We're all over the place, Andy.
Oh, we're everywhere.
That's right. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search for Hypotheticals. That is Hypotheticals, the weird way we spell it, but without the R.
Yes, and if you would like to leave us a rating on a podcast app of your choice, be that Acast, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever they may be, may take some digging, but if you could leave us a 5-star rating, it would mean that we would get more than at least 5 listeners.
We would love you so, so much. And please, why not tell a friend who might enjoy listening to our dulcet tones. And we will see you next time.
Bye! I guess I'd never thought about that before. That, in fantasy, elves are, upper class, humans are, middle class, and dwarves are, lower class. It's you can imagine the state of mind of, the aristocracy of being look at these peasants, they're all so muscular and short. It's they're so grimy and they're so calloused on their hands, and they're really stocky and strong. And, it's not a million... it's not, a big leap to be I'm going to write dwarves down as, a character,
I suspect
it all gets into a strange race stuff.
It really does. Yeah, I started thinking recently about how orcs in World of Warcraft might be a bit dodgy because they come from Africa and they're brutish, and a lot of them have Jamaican accents, and it's just fantasy racism. I don't know how relevant any of this is to our segment. Maybe it needs a little snip off the end.